Okay.
Okay, thank you all for coming. And Karen, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us in this meeting. The last time I was actually in one of these meetings was in late 2018. I did a major renovation expansion on 3508 Shepherd Street. It was an old 1906 or 1908 farmhouse that I did a expansion in the back, kept the entire facade of the house, added a rear garage, gave a private driveway to the neighbors to the right, and added a driveway further away. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen that house, but it's a really beautiful home that turned out exceptionally well. It's a 17,000 square foot lot, and it actually is a really pretty home on that street. Everybody thanked me at the end because it increased their property values because the sale price on that was over $3 million. I've also done a house in the village of Chevy Chase, and that was another renovation expansion. Like to keep houses an appropriate size, not looking to build put a lot on the lot for these narrow lots, but what we're looking to do right now, there's as Michael mentioned, there's two addresses, 3419, and then that lot size is about 9,124 square feet. And we're looking to put on that house above ground, approximately 4,500 square feet. And it has a finished basement, and that'll take the house to about 5,800 square feet with garages that are located in the back. So the houses are going, north and south. Those are 50-foot wide lots, very similar to the ones across the street. The other house is pretty much the same. It's 8,876 square feet. It's a little bit smaller. And again, the houses are pretty much mirroring each other. And it'll be about 4,500 square feet above ground. These are only 2-story homes. They're well within Montgomery County height restrictions, so nothing's going above. And I think it's 32 feet is the allowable for those, maybe 33. And we're well within the setbacks of all the requirements of Montgomery County and the Village of Martin's Addition. We are looking to put a driveway down the middle of the house, the two houses, so they will have a driveway, then they split off and then go into their garages underneath on those two properties. The style of the homes, they're going to be stucco on the outside, very simple and elegant. The elevation is pretty much walk in and nothing over the top. I like things on the simple side. And I don't know what else I can say about them. I don't know if you've seen the actual drawings or not. They were done by Studio Z Design Concepts over here in Bethesda. And I think they're very proportionate properties given the lot sizes.
Where can we find those pictures? I haven't seen one.
We have copies of the plans for both houses in the office. If you want to schedule a time, those are public information. So anyone's welcome to schedule a time with me to come in and review the plans specifically.
I'm pretty sure in the past the plans were sent to us when this buildings were renovated across the street, the homes. We got them sent to us so that we could look at them. We didn't have to come into the village office to look at them. So I think that would be nice.
Okay, I'll have to look into that.
I'll just kind of show them.
When does construction start?
We are hoping it can start. We're just wrapping up some permit issues. The architecture, here's, can anybody, I don't know if you can all see this, but here's like the front facade of one house.
You're putting 2 of those on that one lot.
Yeah, it's 2 of them.
Awesome.
Yeah, 2 huge houses.
Pardon me?
2
When does
huge houses.
When does construction start?
Probably, well, we're going to demo the house that's currently there, and that might occur. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce. This is Abel Canizales. He's my contractor and site manager. So we're about what?
Like 4
About
weeks.
3 to 4 weeks to demoing the
Hello.
house that's there.
Everyone.
This is Abel.
You
And
have
he-
heavy equipment on the site today.
Oh, because we was abandoning the water, the WSSC was there.
They had to cap off the
We have
water.
to
and
cut
the
off the water in order for us
sewer.
to get the demolition permit.
You cut down some trees too.
Yeah, the front, yes,
Mhm.
No, I mean today.
yes. Yes, we did the one because we needed to cut off the water to excavate. Where the water line is.
So I have a question. I'm not gonna take up everybody's time. I have a question about parking. How are you gonna handle parking with street parking with all of the equipment and trucks that you're gonna have for construction?
Yeah, that's my question too. One of my questions.
Well, a lot of it, the heavy equipment will be on the actual property. And we had the same issue on Shepherd Street, so that, the streets are narrow. And, we're out there with putting some cones down, managing it in the morning. The equipment comes onto the site. Workers will have to park. We try to have anything that's dropped off, we put the truck down the street or on Brookville Road and we drive everything off and then take it off the site. But, I understand it's going to be congested for a few weeks until the heavy equipment is out of there and then they're basically on the site. We will encourage our workers to obviously park on one side of the street, park on the actual property. There's a driveway there right now that we're not planning on demoing right away. So there's some parking that's available on the right side of the actual lot.
So I'm so sorry, that's not what happened today. Today, a big commercial trailer parked on the wrong side of the street, right in front of the house, in front of Doug's house, actually, and unloaded heavy equipment and then moved off. I mean, I understand it didn't take all day and it didn't take long at all, but nobody parked on Brookville. They parked right in front of the street, in front of the house, on the wrong side of the street. And I am concerned personally that across the street from my driveway, Doug's and my driveway. Doug, you don't mind if I talk for you, do you? Our driveway is a yellow curb that no workers ever honor. And I can't get out of my driveway if somebody's parking.
And I completely understand. And I was not there today and I'm sorry, it was WSSC and they're not one of my workers or our workers.
Yeah.
So I can assure you that won't happen. I mean, WSSC shows up when they show up. They barely give us notice and they come and do what they need to do and then they're out of there. So trust me, I can't control them. If I was there, I would have done something, but they get their marching orders and they go do their work and then they say, we did it. I'm like, okay. So.
So what do you, why aren't the people across the street part of this also? I'm curious. It's a question for.
They
Mike
were
there?
invited, adjacent neighbors, including I think the 4 addresses across the street. That's the village code requires the adjacent neighbors to, and the neighbors behind these addresses. I forget what the street is directly behind these addresses, but they were also invited.
What is I'm sorry, Judith.
Go on.
What is the construction schedule and do you plan on, what are the hours of construction and do you plan on doing any work on the weekends?
Well, the construction hours for Montgomery County are like Monday through Friday, 7 to 5, and Saturday 8 to 5, and Sunday 8 to 5. You usually don't work on the weekends that much, but usually
Saturday we work sometimes.
sometimes, yeah. But if it's
Just a
not
note on that, the village hours are slightly different. Our start times on the weekends are 9 a.m.
9 a.m. exactly.
And we haven't issued our permits yet. So on our permits, you'll get our permit conditions with all of our rules that are slightly different from the county's.
And who was the contact for if something goes wrong? Because on the weekends, we can't contact Michael because he's off having a life of his own. So are you going to
Exactly.
post contact information in case a big truck
Absolutely.
parks again?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. We did that in the past over on Shepherd Street and neighbors did reach out. Like one time, I think one of the neighbors was having a party for their kids. And we said, we won't work that day. It was on a Saturday morning and we did that.
What do you plan to put between my house, I'm on the other side of Doug and Heidi, between our house and the new house, is there gonna be a fence or what are you putting up?
And I'm sorry, which house are you? I don't have any information about where everybody is on the screen.
Okay, so if you're facing the new properties, the house on the right,
On the right, yeah, okay. Yes, we'll be more than likely at the very end, putting a new fence up.
During the construction will be a super.
Oh, yeah,
fence
and during the
around.
construction, the super sill fence is all the way around the property. And any trees that need to be protected, they get a fencing accordingly.
Hi, could I just ask a question? I'm not a resident on Cummings Lane. I'm Katie Flipcheck Howard. I'm one of the council members. Hi. Thank you
Hi.
to the residents that showed up tonight. You know, I've lived through a tear down and a major renovation as an abutting neighbor. So I hear you and I feel you in this process. So I just want you to know that. Is there any way, I'm sorry you didn't get advance, you didn't get to see the plans in advance. Is there any way you can share your screen, Karen, and just walk us through it during this meeting or?
The plans, you know,
Put in the PDF if you have it.
I don't have a PDF of that, I don't, of the plans.
So it'll be easy for them to see it.
I know, but I don't have the,
Yeah.
I only have it in big, I
agree.
mean. The site plans, I
Right.
don't have I have the floor plans. Should I
Well,
pull up
maybe-
this? Let me see if I can pull this up.
If you had those and
Yeah. Why reduce these? Okay, why don't I try to find that on the computer and have those up and then, but we can continue dialogue, if that's okay.
Mhm.
I have to pull these on another screen and look for them.
I'm sorry.
Katie.
Oops, I'm sorry. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Doug.
Sorry. Thanks for that, Katie. Karen, this is Doug Grobe. I live, I'm an abutting neighbor on the other side, so facing the property to the left. I'm in 3503 Cummings, and my wife Hiromi couldn't make it on the call tonight. But I have a couple of questions, and thanks for doing this meeting and for going through everything. Obviously want to echo the concerns about the parking in our driveway. In the past, when the houses across the street in Cummings were being built, it was a major problem with trucks blocking our driveway. And I because of my work, I cannot be delayed in getting out of the house in the morning. And I just would like to just ask you to please make sure that you're not parking on Cummings across from the shared driveway between 3503 and 3505, because we will have no choice but without delay, if there is somebody there who either can't be located to move a vehicle or refuses to move a vehicle, as was the case with construction years ago on the street, we will have to, we'll have no choice but to call the police, and the police have advised us that they will be very responsive and tow and ticket. So I don't want to do that. You know, I really just, I totally understand that, you know, construction is construction and we all have to be flexible, and we're willing to be up to, you know, a reasonable point. But we just have had a bad experience in the past where people have not been reasonable. And unfortunately, I have no choice if I can't leave the house on time.
No,
But the other,
and
go ahead.
no, I meant, I'm sorry. And I no, totally understand. Are you talking about, Doug, the house that Larry Capers built across, the big one?
that's
Is
one of
that the
them.
issue that you had with construction? Was
Yeah,
it blocking?
Yeah,
one of-
the two large, yeah, there were two
Yeah.
large, I don't recall if it was K Fritz or I believe it was Chevy Chase Home or something like that, Chevy Chase Builders or something like that. This was years ago. This is about,
10 years ago?
probably 10, 15 years ago. Yeah. But it is a problem that persists. We very often, I'd say a month doesn't go by where we don't have 2 or 3 occasions where, whether it be Rolling Acres or they're a frequent offender, or others, they park, they block us in, they
Right.
refuse to move. And it's just, yeah, we just are not going to be able to tolerate that. But I appreciate your, I want to make sure that you know that, and appreciate your consideration there. I have a couple of concerns. We have
How do I even
2
get-
trees on our property that are not far from the property line. There's a very large old tulip poplar that has roots that go onto the lot that you're working on. There's a cherry tree towards the back of the lot. Can you tell us what you are doing going to be doing to protect the tree roots as you excavate?
I got that question. Hang on. Michael, I was trying to do screen sharing because I was pulling up the plans, but it says you have disabled participant screen sharing.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and enable it for you right
Okay.
now. Hang on a second.
All right. I was multitasking. I listened to your question, Doug, but I just was also trying to get the plans up, and I'm not a very good Zoom person. And
Go ahead and try again.
all right. So what do I do?
Yeah, click on that
Click
one,
on that.
and then click back here.
Click here.
Yeah, on the screen, this is, and then share.
Oh, screen share. Let's see if I can get the. Nope. Don't.
File.
Is it this one?
No.
No, files. I think it's too big. Okay, I'm trying. Maybe I can get it up there, and I'll do my best. And I want to answer your question, Doug. I live in the town of Chevy Chase, so I'm a local person here. When I was working on Shepherd Street and also in the village, and the Chevy Chase Village has their own police, and the Martin's Addition on the other side, they don't have police, but it's very close to the village offices, and we had just a couple incidences that one was people asked if we can do this one birthday party, and we obviously said of course, but we were very, very conscientious about the parking because it's very tight. So, and I want to apologize to Heidi that, like I said, WSSC and PEPCO, they do their own thing. They're government controlled, and literally we're just happy they show up because you have no idea when they're going to be there. So that won't happen when you have a controlled environment with a builder's schedule, what's coming, lumber, the concrete trucks. So those are things that are going to happen. And we are there managing that and making sure that no one is trapped in their house. That's something that I don't want to see anybody have to go through, especially if they need to go to work or emergency or something. But I will tell you that there will be a couple days when there'll be 3, very large cement trucks coming, and they'll be parked, across the street in front of the house, and maybe cars will have to go around. We'll have to put cones out across the house, and so people can go because there's no parking on that side of the street, and that has to be managed. And we try to do that as best as we can. I'm not going to leave anybody stranded, and so that's really important because we've gone through this before. We know the conditions on the village streets. They're not as wide, and only one side of parking. So people do get lazy. I have the same problem here with Rolling Acres. Many trucks, they come and park in front of my house, and I have a shared driveway or one apron, and I can't get out. I'm out there yelling at them saying, can you just move up 10 feet? Like, can you think and just not make these inconvenience? So right off the bat, I don't want to have any of those kind of confrontations with workers, with neighbors, because we're all neighbors and we want to do what's right. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands that it is a very sensitive topic. I've lived through it, and I don't want anybody to have to go through that. With regard to trees, the houses are if Doug, you're in the back of this property, you're abutting it from behind?
No, I'm right next to it. So facing the lot,
So-
I'm the house to the left.
To the left.
Mhm.
Um,
So there's a shared driveway, but there are two red brick colonials.
right,
Heidi, who's on the call, is on the far one. I'm the one that's abutting the property. We share a driveway. And when trucks park across along Cummings, but they park in the yellow striped portion across the street from us, if it's a regular car, it's inconvenient. We have to do a several point turn to get out. But if it's a truck, we're blocked in. And so we
Understood.
just ask that, I know it's going to happen because, and I believe, I know, and I believe, and I know, and you're sincere, and I believe you're going to instruct your people under no circumstances never to do that. But and I know that it is going to happen nonetheless, because they'll just want to get the task done and they'll figure it'll blow over before the cops come. It'll be done
No,
before the cops, but
totally.
it will happen. And so I just want, just please do everything you can. And we also understand that the lumber trucks come, the cement trucks come, we're all reasonable people. We're willing to be flexible, and understand that this is going to happen, but just please take, every precaution that
I will
that's
drop
possible.
off a card with my cell phone number, Abel's cell phone number. I'm literally, what, 9 minutes away, just crossing over Connecticut and getting to Brookfield, crossing over to Cummings. I've done that. I built the other house back and forth all the time. So yes, within our power, of course, making sure that no one is blocked. That was our number one concern on Shepherd Street. Number one. And that was make sure that the neighbors, noise levels and access to their properties, because to get on Shepherd Street, it was one or the other side to park on. And it was a major concern. I can tell you at the end of all of it, the neighbors were beyond happy, and you're welcome to walk over to that house, take a look at it. They were ecstatic. They were all on edge in the beginning. The meeting we had in person, the room was overflowing with neighbors and people. And at the very end, we had some hiccups, obviously. There were a couple times when I can tell you, it was when the cement trucks were there. And I just said, where are they going to go? I got to just get it off and get them out of here. And so we personally were there making sure that if anybody had to leave or they just couldn't get out, when those big trucks are there, we're managing it. And that's what literally the neighbors were very thankful that all that happened, because a lot of builders, the managers they're not there. They have their site managers working there, and whatever happens, happens. But I can tell you that we've done this, and we want to assure that that is the smoothest part. Once you get past that, first few weeks of the trucks, then the lumber being dropped off, it's just work on the site. And then, like I said, workers will park, and they're on Brookfield Road, or they'll go down the street and park where they possibly can.
Great, thank you. And so any advance notice that you can give us as to when that's going to happen, so that
yes,
we don't, so that there are no surprises, that's
correct.
going to be
And
key.
that's a key point, Doug, because I did that with the prior village managers. I gave them my schedule. I said, please be advised tomorrow, or on Wednesday, we're expecting this. And I don't know why I can't remember his name, but he was really nice. He always sent out notes. He emailed the neighbors every time, and they were prepared. And that was something that I made sure that every week we have our status meetings and what's happening. And it was so transparent. I mean, I even made a timeline, a spreadsheet for the village manager, say, this is when we're anticipating this to happen. And of course, there were delays. Weather we started breaking ground in the middle of winter, so there were delays with snow, deliveries, but I was on top of it all the time, trying to let the village manager know and the neighbors know. And my neighbors next door, they were elderly, and I had to make sure that they could get to their doctor's appointment. We actually shoveled the driveway for them because he had a walker. I mean, we did everything we possibly could to make sure that their lives, because that was the most impacted houses on the right, comfortable for them.
Great, thank you, thank you. That's good to hear.
Or- And
Um,
like I said, I will give you my cell phone numbers, all of our numbers. You will have emergency contacts no matter what. You can just call.
Thank you for that. That means a lot. And that's important. Thank you.
Of
So
course.
just a real quick, let me just mention the questions that I'd like for you to address, and I don't want to take up too much of other people's time. As I mentioned, we've got a very tall old tulip poplar tree on our property that it is as much of an appeal for us, for our neighbors, as it is for us, and it will be for our new neighbors. Could you, and there's a cherry tree close to the property line towards the back of the lot as well. Can you tell us what steps you're taking to protect the tree roots during the excavation? And I understand that there are some village and possibly even some state requirements. Some county requirements for that. That's one question. The other question is, drainage on that property has been an issue with water going out to Shepherd Street. Now, there is going to be a substantial diminishment in the decrease in the permeable surface with these two houses going up. I'm extremely concerned about drainage and then water flowing towards our house. We maintain the grading on the side of our house for that purpose. I think the space between the new house, I think it's going to be 3419 and then 3503, our house, is going to be small because of our grandfather's setback and then your setback. And that there's just going to be a lot of water flowing down there. Could you tell us what steps you're taking to make sure that we do not end up with, how you're going to mitigate the risk that this will change the water flow in such a way that water is going to be flowing towards our house?
Gotcha.
And yeah, that's a key concern. And then I'll just mention one thing about, I have another question about what your design plans are in terms of putting up a fence to divide the lots, to divide the property. Because as you know, in the past back there was, we had no fences dividing the properties, and that open space back there was also something that was valued. And so I'd just like to know a little bit more about what kind of fencing you're planning to put up, and whether or not you would consider, rather than an actual fence, sort of green shrub dividers there, because I think that would be of appeal certainly to us, but I think probably knowing how the lot works to the new neighbors as well. But those are the three things I just wanted to mention, and thanks for commenting on them.
Of course, and those are very good questions. So the stormwater management has been completed. It was done by Potomac Valley Consulting, and my stormwater management plans have been approved by the county and by the Village of Martin's Addition. I will let you know that tens of thousands of dollars have been spent to get this right. No easy feat, no question. Your concerns were my concerns. With that said, we have various pits, stormwater management pits, and there are these new planters that are along the house that capture all the rainwater coming off of the roofs of the house, and they're capturing basically anything off the driveway. A 10-year storm flood study was done on this property, which is a requirement now. And we have a lot of containers, dry wells on the property. And like I said, a lot of time was on the stormwater management, let alone with Doug Lohmeyer, and then with the county to understand the topography, the amount of roof, the amount of driveway, where I have permeable, pavers, et cetera. I'm doing everything possible to capture all the water and to make it probably better. Because we had to do a 10-year study. And the water, as you said, Doug, I'm looking at my site plan. It does go your direction. It goes into that back corner. So we have, with all the engineering work, done our due diligence to hopefully mitigate that situation that is currently in place and to improve it. To answer your fence situation, I can't speak for, let's say, a new owner. If they want to put up a fence, I'm not a big fan of privacy fences. I kind of like the ones that go horizontal and you have a little bit of space in between them. We just did that on our last build in Chevy Chase Village. The neighbors wanted to be able to see through, and we built a fence, and everyone was happy with it. I can't speak for somebody who doesn't want to have that green space that is open. And I certainly have a landscaping budget, and we'll be planting a lot of landscaping on the property, sod and some trees and shrubs, and as much as I possibly can, because I happen to like that. But, I can't speak for somebody who, maybe has a dog, or they maybe have kids that are young and or maybe they want a pool and they need to cover it. They need to enclose that. So I hear what you're saying, but I can't answer that with certainty that a new homeowner would be saying, yeah, let's leave it open. I like that. Or they might say, I'd like to have a little more privacy. So I hope
Well,
that.
thanks for that. Yeah, no, thanks for that. So do I understand correctly in terms of the fence that you're not, for your developing the property, does that mean you're not planning on putting up a fence? That'll be a decision of the owner once they're in the house?
That could be a decision of the contract purchaser, absolutely. And they could work with you on that, because I know what you're saying right now. There's like the right has a chain link fence and the left doesn't. So I mean, if I don't have to put it up, it doesn't cost me money, so I don't want to put it up. But I would assume that a neighbor would want to talk to a contract purchaser, owner of the house, and then they can say, we'd like to have shrubs, maybe a low horse fence, or you know what I'm saying? I can't control that.
Okay, I understand that. I understand it. I would just ask that if those conversations are happening, that you just mention to them that once they get in the house, they will just our experience has been they will most likely very much wish that they had put up shrubs rather than a privacy fence. Maybe if you could put up that idea in their head, that would be good. And we'd be happy to talk to them. And we're friendly people who raise kids in the back who enjoyed the open space. So, and we had a dog. So anyway, so we can talk about that, but that's relatively minor. On the drainage and the water issue, I think the natural topography is likely to have the water continue pointing in the back into that corner.
Yes.
What I'm worried about is, our house, we don't have an addition, right? Where is the space between our house and the new house that I think there's, especially given the change in permeable surface area, as well as the height of the new house and the grading, I can absolutely imagine that water will flow towards our house as it goes between the houses, and that we just can't have. And I just want to make sure, I can't be out there every week shoveling and regrading the side of my house. And I understand the studies that you've done, and it's great to hear about the pits and the planters and all of that. But if the grading on the side of the new house is such, and it no doubt will be such, that water will flow towards our house. And that's going to be a really, really a damaging situation. So I'd like to make sure that, and like to ask you to please, revisit those plans with your consultant and just make sure that that has been addressed and that risk has been mitigated.
To answer your question on that, the grading that's in that rear left corner was under significant scrutiny, Doug, and we are already planning to do our best to grade that area up in that.
Right. I'm not talking about the back of the lot. I'm talking about, again, I'm on Cummings. I'm on Cummings next to it. So I'm talking about from Cummings Lane to the back. Our house is going to stop way before the new house stops. Our house does not go very far back. The new house is going to go much farther back, it seems to me. And what I'm talking about is water flowing towards our house. We've got a basement window right at ground level at near the front of the house on both the front and the side. We've got additional windows there. That's right. And that grading on the side of our house has to be very well maintained so that we don't get water in our basement. And if there is an increase in water flow towards our house, I'm not talking about the back of the lot, I'm talking about the part of the lot near Cummings, between the two houses, between my old smaller house and the new bigger house, that change in water flow is going to be potentially very damaging and injurious to us. So I'd just like to make sure that that has been examined and that risk has, specifically been considered and mitigated.
It has been looked at 6 ways past Sunday. It was my major holdup with stormwater management because of the increased, and Doug Lohmeyer can talk about it, the increased regulations that are put on stormwater management. It's the number one topic right now, let alone in the town of Chevy Chase, all of Chevy Chase and Montgomery County. So it has been engineered, it has been looked at, it has been scrutinized. I've gone through, I think, 4 iterations just on stormwater management because the county wasn't, happy. They wanted tweak and they wanted me to add more pits between your house and the house we're building. Doug, we have along the side of the house these new planter stormwater management containers. So I would hope that this was engineered correctly by the professionals that we engaged with, that it makes it better for your house and doesn't cause any additional water to flow. I understand. I know your windows are at ground level, and I'm sure, Abel, in the meantime, between the silt fence and
during the construction will be
the silt fence will be between, so that's gonna hopefully capture water and then bring it. It's gonna flow to the back or to the front. But we have a very, very expensive fence that's going around that property, and they how many feet down?
1 foot.
We dig it down 1 foot, and that fence is in there to capture, and then there's gravel and dirt on top of that. So we are mitigating during the construction process the water going your direction from the very beginning. My words of encouragement are that after this whole thing is done, there shouldn't be any water issues because we put all these collection sites to take the water away from your house and from our house to go, to the front and to go into the pits and to let it naturally disperse.
Michael,
Okay.
if I can add, this is Doug Lohmeyer, the town engineer. First of all, the village does not regulate drainage, sediment control, or stormwater management. That's regulated by Montgomery County. But the site plan that was submitted and approved by Montgomery County shows a well-defined swale running between the new house at 3419 and the property line, which will catch the runoff and take it along the side of the house. And if the sediment control inspector from the county will ensure that swale is put in per the plan.
Okay, thank you, Doug. One last question, just the question on the protecting the tree roots there, as I'm particularly worried about the old tulip poplar, because if that tree does not thrive, it's going to come down on our house. And so,
Actually, speaking, Doug, I had a 3-ton tulip poplar come down on my house in Potomac and almost killed my father. So I'm very sensitive to trees. So I've had personal experience with a tulip poplar. They have a very shallow root system. So, we can put a fence around it. I'm looking at it. I believe I see where the tree is, and it's on the part of the house where it's actually coming in. So I'm thinking it shouldn't.
Be like about 8 feet.
Yeah. We're about 8 to, can't see the actual measurement.
8.4, I think it is.
We're about 9. Sorry, it's
Yeah,
just
8.4.
almost 9 feet away from it.
mhm.
But I do know those tulip poplars have a very short, shallow root system. So, I mean, we're going to do our best, and I can always ask Tolbert Feathers. I've dealt with him, great arborist, and have him come take a look at it and make any recommendations needed that could help.
Yeah, anything that can be done to help with that and to anticipate and proactively mitigate that risk, because I do think, again, the tree would be something that the new owners of the house would value, I would hope. But we do want to make sure, for safety reasons,
Yep.
that is addressed, and that, again, communication between us. The minute that you see any cause for concern or need to prune that tree, I do think, some of the branches do overhang that lot.
Mhm.
So I think that, again, the key here is going to be no surprises and no uncoordinated action. So I'd just like to ask to please communicate and coordinate so that we can know what to expect there.
Sure. And, like I said before, that the town did put out, the village put out communications, and I'm happy to give you email addresses too, and just even give you a heads up saying, this is what we're looking at, this is what's happening, these are the schedules. I mean, you're right, communication is key. I'd rather have something communicated before someone has to ask me a question, to be honest. I don't like it the other way around.
Great, thank you. And there's also another tree close to the property line in the back. I don't know if that will be affected, but just it's a variety of cherry there.
Yeah, I saw
Just
that.
again, any steps that can be taken to protect those trees and their roots, greatly appreciated.
Understood.
I have one last question. How long is this construction going to take? I know there are delays. I know construction never takes as long as you think. It always takes longer. How long do you think this will take? How long do we need to white knuckle through this?
The worst part is always in the beginning until they get it under roof, and then it's mostly inside. So I would say that, the first 6 months are always where, the plans go, take the house down, the foundation, then they're framing, then it's the roof comes on, and then they're going inside. So I would say it's probably, 6 months, but till the houses get delivered, 18 months.
Constant pounding. Do you know it's constant pounding? There's always something going on. So one of the things that I like the most about living where I am is that I hear birds all the time, and it's quiet. And this is a great neighborhood for quiet. So you're telling me for the next 6 to 10 months, it's going to be pounding and cars and traffic. And I understand that this is your job. I truly do. But do you understand how invasive this is, how unsettling this is. This is going to be, I'm not kidding when I said we're going to white knuckle through this. This is going to be horrible.
I thoroughly understand your position and the negativity. It's construction. I totally understand it. The painting part, when they're inside's quiet. I I'm trying to make it a little bit lighter, and I thoroughly understand. I just finished a renovation in my own 1923 house, and because I had to build another office, and then I decided to put a porch on, and I work from home, and it was hard, but I think when you see what's going to happen at the end and the beauty of a home, hopefully you'll be happy at the end. But we certainly understand they haven't invented where I can hammer, it doesn't make noise, but the worst, it doesn't, like, it's not every single day. The worst part, I will tell you, the noisy part is when they just put the framing up and they're hammering and putting up nails, and they use an air gun, and hopefully it's not as many as just pounding away. The cement, when that comes in, it's like 2 days and it's over with. The truck's sitting out there, they're turning and they're pouring, and it's over with. I always think those are the loudest, is those cement trucks, but it's usually what, 2 days, 3 days, and that's over with. I definitely want to be considerate, and I feel your pain, but the 18-month period isn't going to be every single day. Once the house is under roof, they're inside. They're doing the plumbing, they're doing interior framing, we're doing insulation, we're doing drywall, they're putting floors in, we're putting windows in. Those are not noisy things. It's just the framing part. Framing is about how long?
Like 4 weeks.
Yeah, 4 weeks of framing. That's the hammering. And they don't like hammer, they use the air gun. So it's just like a they're putting them in. That's like 3 weeks. I wish I could say it was something different. I wish we had, someone would create a silent hammer, but it's air guns. I can tell you right now, we're not doing stonework on the outside. The stonework is the worst. When they're out there with the stone cutters, you might as well put a gun to my head. So this, and we just finished a house in Kenwood, and the stone cutting was extensive. It was $7-8 million house, and all this stonework, it's just stucco. And when they're doing stucco, so that's so quiet. They're putting the stone up, right? I mean, compared to siding, that's when you have like hardy plank or or brick, and they're cutting. If it's a brick house, that noise is constant. So you can imagine it's going to be stucco, nice and quiet. The only thing that's a chimney is going to be stone, and that'll be like a day. So I'm trying to think of things to tell you to calm everybody's nerves about the noise. But if you think about it, it's just the framing and it's over with. I mean, in reality, because they're stucco homes, very quiet they sit there with a dowel, and they put it's all hand applied. So that's a real quiet process. There's no nails, no hammering for that. If that gives you any.
No, that doesn't make it better. It's
I'm trying to think of something to help.
No.
Karen, I'm Yasmina Madaris, and I live at 3414 Shepherd Street. So my property is abuts just behind your lot. And I think you were just about to talk about the water management and something you were going to do to change the grading at the back. And I'm wondering if you could finish explaining that thought. And also, I have a question for you about a tree, but I can ask you that afterwards.
Sure. I did go over with Doug prior, and I thank you for joining our meeting. We have had extensive work done for stormwater management, and their stormwater management, their pits, they're all in the back. There's side planters attached to the house. Those will be formed during the what do you call the foundation, the footers, all of that gets done at one time before the basement slab goes in. So there's been extensive engineering done to contain the runoff. In the back, I know it kind of slopes a little bit. We're going to
Right.
grade as much as we can, because right now it's like this. It goes
Mhm.
towards Shepherd and then it goes towards Brookville Road. So at the end, we're going to, help get the current grading up a bit so it's a little bit flatter back there, and then contain the water when it does rain. It should vastly improve the runoffs that you might be incurring right now on Shepherd Street.
Yeah, because we get right now we get quite a lot of runoff from Cummings Street. I don't get most of it. My neighbors, the Oteros, get a lot more than I do, but we do get
Yes.
some runoff. So that's helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The other question I have for you is there's a volunteer tree that I'd love you to have a look at the back of your property that's growing into one of our trees, and it's just growing crooked, and it's probably won't be able to develop into a healthy tree. So if at any point you do have your arborist out there, I would love for your person to have a look at it and see what can be done while the tree is still young.
Right. It's Tolbert Feathers. He's the town arborist for the village. I mean, all of Chevy Chase. So I definitely will. Tolbert's a great guy. So happy to.
That would be great, because if I cut it on my end, which I'm inclined to do because it's growing crooked, I'm going to kill it. So I just want you to know what the situation is.
I've taken notes on that, and we'll be walking a lot with Tolbert to make sure that everything is done, and have him engage in conversations with our neighbors. Absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you,
Of course.
Karen.
We have under 5 minutes left here for this meeting. I will follow up with copies of the plans if I can figure out how to distribute them. It has been done prior, from my understanding. Several of us have to run to an additional meeting. Is there any final questions or final statements?
Michael, if you could, and if everybody wants to, if you since you have everybody's email, if you want to forward that to me, I'm happy to start a group. I'm happy to start an email thing. I'm as transparent as can be. I'm sorry, the lady who just joined, who lives on Yasmina, do you know the house on 3508 Shepherd Street that Camille Wall lives in?
I do. Yes. And I remember you working on that. And actually, sorry, I was on mute earlier, but I do want to just reassure my neighbors on Cummings that it was a pretty smooth. We were really worried about Karen's crew coming out and working on the Fleming's house. But it was pretty smooth relative to some other contractors who have been working on our street. So I want to thank your crew, Karen, for that.
Thank you.
I'm not looking forward to the development. I really wish the old house could stay there, but I know that's not realistic. But I do appreciate the way in which your crew worked on our street. It was helpful. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I think the house turned out beautifully on Shepherd.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful house. It's great that it could be kept. It's really a lovely house.
Yeah, that house had some good bones in it. Unfortunately, next door, we have serious issues with, it's an older house, and there's sometimes you can save them, sometimes you can't.
I understand. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it.
Well, Karen, I just want to wish you best of luck breaking ground with the project.
Thank you.
I will back you up when it comes to utilities. They march to the beat of their own drum, as Michael will tell you. But for any residents out there, I just want to offer you my email if you need to talk during this process. And if over the weekend, I check email. It's katie.howard@martinseditions with the S at the end .org. So please feel free to reach out to me. I've lived through this. I've been through it. Sometimes it gets worse before it gets better, but just wanted to let you know I'm here to support.
I appreciate that,
Katie.
Katie. And I make a practice of not sharing people's contact information unless I get their explicit consent.
Sure.
So Karen, if you want to give me your email address and cell phone number and all of that, I can distribute that to your adjacent neighbors.
I believe
that
you
would-
have all that information.
I do, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
You didn't include my social security number, so you're welcome to.
I won't share that.
So yeah, please feel free. And I will send you an email, Michael, and I will even give you a Bell's a cell phone and everything. So like I said, very transparent. Phone is on all the time. My kids call me at 2 a.m. sometimes. So I do have it on. I'm not going to ignore it.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.